Wagwan everyone, Tobias here, just jumping in to let you know that we did suffer massive audio issues in the recording of this next episode. We've tried to cut out as much as possible, but some of it is still present in this episode. I hope it doesn't affect your enjoyment, and thank you for your support. Today I'm joined by my co-anchor and good friend, Craig Britton. Hello, Craig.
How's it going?
And we are also joined by the theme tune dude, WAKENBLAKE, Mr. Blake Haverley. Hello, Blake.
Hello.
Today we're watching a David Cronenberg film.
Yeah, I should say at this point, by the way, we tried to do pods on this 2 times before, and both times something came up and we couldn't do it. So in the space of a year, I've watched this film 3 times. So I feel like I know it so well now.
Well, when I watched it, the first time I watched it, I fell asleep first time I watched it to revise, I fell asleep halfway through, and then it took me about 3 more attempts to get through it at work. I was watching it on my phone while I was just meant to be working.
It's a rough watch, isn't it? It's a rough watch. It's a bit slow.
It's a bit slow, but it's really unique, and it feels like art. Like, it's just annoying. Like, it's not. I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I'm always falling asleep, or if it's just because the film is like that. But my personal opinion is it shouldn't make you fall asleep. It's too interesting for that.
No,
but there's a lot of talking to doctors in fucking medical rooms, isn't there?
There is. That's most of the movie, and also the movie has some of the worst acting I've ever seen in any movie. Some of the acting's dreadful.
Did you watch Scanners 2 and 3, or is that still only my experience?
No.
The acting in Scanners 1 is like Oscar worthy compared to 2 and 3.
No.
Really sad.
I was actually thinking about watching the second and third ones, but now I know that I'm definitely avoiding them.
Yeah, I thought the same.
With the acting, it's mostly the lead guy, this guy Cameron Vale. He's
terrible.
He's just a plank of wood. He's just floating through the film.
He's like a lost child. Like sometimes when he's on the phone. Okay, thank you, doctor. Bye. And then like, why
are we going to do? Should we get into the story, guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Craig, tell us what this movie's about.
So basically, I don't know how would you say that it's about psychics or telekinesis or both?
I'd say it's
them all together.
Yeah,
it's all the same. I think this is basically the original X-Men.
I was also thinking about that. See, one of the things I wanted to say before we get too deep into it, apart from the acting that we're laughing at, I really like the idea of this film, and it's got a lot of influence. Yeah. So like, I would say to people who are going to watch it, just try to let the acting slide by you as much as it may grate your ears and eyes, and just pay attention to what's happening because it's quite good. But anyway, so the story starts. We have our lead guy, Cameron Vale, and he's like a homeless guy stealing from people's plates in a mall somewhere. I think probably Toronto, I guess, because it's Canada. By the way, a lot of strong Canadian accents in this film here and there. Yeah, and then basically he kind of attacks some woman who's watching him from the side. I'm not sure, actually, by the way, when he kind of like mentally attacks her, and I'm not sure, do you guys think that he's doing it on purpose or he can't control it?
No, he can't control it at that point. Yeah. It's just like a raw
he explains it. He explains it later when he's like, I couldn't turn off the voices. She made me think about her. So like she's talking about how much she don't like him, and like he can't help but to put his on her, and then she has a really intense orgasm.
So, by the way, also at this point, early on in the film, I don't know if you noticed, around the time where she starts having a seizure, there's a guy with really thick glasses who looks just like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. And
Yeah.
Is this the guy in the coat? Is this the one who's like following him around? Like the
I'm not sure. He's around the restaurant place. What the restaurant? Fast food place. He's just hanging around. I think that's so Canadian. Yeah, that. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was also wondering about that, about her seizure. Like, is it?
I'll have what she's having.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think Cronenberg would make a really good X-Men movie, boys, based off this film alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be a gory X-Men film.
Oh, of course. But
that would work really well, I think, because his whole thing is body horror anyway.
True.
So
yeah.
I think that would really work with a superhero thing.
Could you imagine like a really realistic, brutal Wolverine, where like you see the time passing as the Titanium's like taking over his body and shit, and like we just get loads of really in-depth scenes of him like cutting open his own arm and it re-healing in front of the camera and shit. He'd have to test out the healing at some point, wouldn't he?
It's true, yeah. You'd want to know the limits of the power. Well, come on, Cronenberg. Can you make a Wolverine movie already? We want to see it.
Let's get Brandon to do it, because I think David's lost it.
Oh, yeah. You do like your Brandon Cronenberg, don't you? Infinity Pool is great. Let's really quickly summarize this plot, right?
We've got maybe like 5 minutes into it so far. So after that, I'll try and be a bit more briefer this time. So then he gets like attacked by these guys with dart guns, always stuff in their hands, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, like with injections. Anyway, he gets taken to this.
Isn't that the drug?
That's the ephemeral.
Yeah, but have you noticed it's always in the hand, which I found was a bit strange. I thought that maybe you'd use a quicker, bigger artery or something. Yeah, maybe that's part of the body horror. Anyway, so he gets taken to this kind of like laboratory owned by Consec, which is like a weapons company. They apparently have private armies as well. And he's basically being looked after this guy called Dr. Ruth, who calls himself a psychopharmacist. And we see how his power kind of works, Vale's power. So like we have all these people come in and Cameron can't stop listening to all their thoughts at once. And you can see basically how it's basically hindered his whole life. He can't be really around people. He can't like stop himself from hearing their thoughts. So he's been homeless for a long time. Apparently he's 35 or something. Dr. Ruth explains to Cameron that there is like this guy. Oh, wait, hold on. I've skipped over a huge thing. Meanwhile, in Consec, there is the most famous scene. One of the most famous films this film is known for is the head explosion, which I think is even the biggest thing in the trailer is just the head exploding, which probably was the most marketable thing about this film back in the days. I imagine back in the days, people were just like talking about a head exploding film. And that was this film. And basically what happens is our bad guy, what's his name? Revok.
Daryl Revok.
So Revok basically makes this guy's head explode when he's, the guy's trying to do a demonstration of how scanning works, how he can read people's minds. But Revok, unbeknownst to the other guy, is also a scanner, and he basically just makes his head blow up. He gets captured though, but then he manages to escape because he kills these other kind of agents, I guess, that work for Consec.
He does that sick moment when he scans the guy and makes him inject himself with the ephemeral.
Yeah. Basically, Dr. Ruth kind of briefs Cameron on this situation that Revok is kind of like building like an alliance of scanners to fight back against Consec and maybe potentially take over the world or something nutty. So then Cameron has to go out and find people and like make his way into his kind of like inner circle of Revok.
Infiltrate.
Yeah. There's one guy called Benjamin Pierce who his acting is also super bad, by the way.
Is that the artist guy we're talking about?
Yeah. Sculpture guy.
Yeah. This scene, for some reason, right, did any of you two used to watch Drake and Josh? Or did your little brothers used to watch Drake and Josh or anything?
My little brother watched it, yeah.
Are you familiar with it?
Not at all.
I'm familiar with it.
the place this guy lives in looks like Drake and Josh's fucking bedroom. Like they've got like the upper layer with the bed in it, and like the lower layer where like Drake was always playing his guitar and shit. And while I was watching this scene, I just kept imagining just cutting between these two guys. We could even put the Drake and Josh soundtrack and just super edit this film and this scene and make it look like the Drake and Josh intro music with these two fucking scanning each other.
I think that might even be worth doing. I can make a TikTok out of that. I'll try. Oh dear.
I was reading up on the actors last night who were in this film, and apparently the guy who plays Cameron Vale, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Lack. Canadian guy from Montreal. Apparently, he's actually a sculptor, apart from being an actor. And I was wondering, that's interesting that we have so many sculptures here. And I'm wondering, yeah, I was wondering that actually, but I can't find anything on it.
It's interesting.
It's just a vehicle for this guy.
Maybe
to just project himself into every media. You know what probably happened? Cronenberg probably just wanted him for the sculptures, and then part of the deal was he had to be the main actor. It's like, oh fuck, you got me.
Oh mate, no, I really. What did you guys think of this film? Because I'm very on the fence. I found it hard to watch.
I still love the film, even though like it's hard to watch. There's like a uniqueness to it, which is compounded when you watch 2 and 3. You realise why number 1 is special.
Yeah.
But if you just watch 1 on its own, it does seem like a bit of a B, like a campy B movie. But it's influenced so much as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I did write down, is this the first example that we've had of the nose bleeding telepathy trope?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Do you know what I also noticed? There's a scene. Where's my notes? There's a scene where I think it's towards the end, but like obviously we're still doing the breakdown, but there's a scene towards the end when they're in the facility and he's scanning those 2 security guards.
Yeah.
And he makes them think of their mum or whatever.
I love that scene.
Mate, that scene. Do you remember Austin Powers 1? I want to buy some orange sherbet. That is that scene. They fucking based it on that. Because he's even wearing the same hat and everything.
Oh my! Totally right.
I also put down Austin Powers in my notes, but for something completely different. That went way over me, and I watched this 3 times. I was thinking more because, like, you think about the characters, these henchmen as being more than just henchmen for a second, and it made me think of in Austin Powers. You know how like when a henchman gets murdered, and you have this whole cutaway where someone has to go and tell their family that he died being a henchman.
Yeah.
But I will also say on that scene, I think that's probably some of the best acting in this movie. Is when that guy starts crying about his mother.
Yeah.
That same scene, the self-destruct countdown ticking clock. I fucking hate that trope. I hate it. I feel like only Team America.
That's also Austin Powers as well. I reckon that whole facility is based on, like, because it's the same facility. Like they're in like some fucking weird factory that's making pointless bullshit. Oh my God. The evil bullshit.
Another Austin Powers thing. It turns out that they're brothers, long lost brothers. Yeah. It's Austin Powers. Fuck, it's Austin Powers, boys. Jesus Christ.
Mike Myers is also Canadian.
Oh my God.
Yeah, oh my God. Hang on. I thought he was born in Liverpool.
Nah,
no, but then he moved to Canada, didn't he?
Yeah, or at least his parents are from Liverpool.
One of his parents are Canadian, I think.
Still, though, I think we've caught them out. We've caught out plagiarism in the act.
See, now we need to do another watch and just be thinking about Austin Powers the entire way through and do a comparison, because this is too coincidental now.
Yeah, it's getting a bit nuts. Each of us have been able to deliver something that we saw Austin Powers in this movie.
But what's even weirder as well, the last pod we recorded, Tobias, we did the Pedro Pascal, Nick Cage film.
Yeah.
And we were also talking about Austin Powers. Because, what was it that we said? There was something about it that reminded us of, at the end of the film, where it just becomes a film and they're watching it in the cinema. It's
really
weird.
The Tom Cruise,
I think we're discovering that like Austin Powers is actually more influential than we thought.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I also remember one of your earlier podcasts where you actually mentioned this exact scene where Christian Slater is talking about, I want to go and buy some orange sherbet. I'm sure you were talking about that exact scene in another one.
Possibly. I think I mentioned we were talking about James Bond at one point, and I was talking about how Spectre makes Blofeld Bond's long lost brother, and I'm like, hang on a minute, Austin Powers has already taken the piss that the Bond franchise will end up doing this, and then they go and fucking do it. It's like, no, that wasn't meant for you to like steal. That was meant for you to avoid. Don't do that. Try and break down. What did you like?
We're not even halfway through the breakdown yet. We've still got to talk about
that's true.
The whole second half of the film where he scans a computer and he becomes fucking
scanning
like
the
Tron.
computer.
He becomes fucking Tron at some point.
It's just this idea that they're suggesting that a computer has a nervous system like a human nervous system. It's annoying, I find.
Yeah,
I don't think that runs very well.
A bit of an easy sort of way of
it's a throwaway. Yeah, it's a real throwaway explanation. So throughout the film, we're seeing Michael Ironside in like pieces, drips and drabs. We don't see a huge amount of him until like the end, where we get to like really hear where he's at. But I think he's really good in this movie. He's about the only good performance that I find in this movie, and it's not a great performance, but it's definitely
he is pretty shit in it. Yeah,
yeah. He's easily the best character, easily the best performance. Even the Doctor's just fucking like so difficult to watch. What's his name?
Doctor's my most annoying character. He's just so slow and boring.
So I've got one thing to say about the Doctor. So as the story evolves, Cameron finds a girl that might be able to, that he says to Consec will be an informant. They get there, and they're really just there to inform that someone at Consec is working with Michael Ironside to like spread the pheromone. So then he tells the Doctor, and the Doctor just suddenly weird, like as if he might be a scanner as well. Maybe, I'm not too sure. Like I didn't get that. Like what's going on with the Doctor right at the end there before he gets shot? Where he's still he starts talking to himself.
He was the dad.
Yeah, he's their dad, but he's not a scanner. And suddenly he's now hearing like echoey voices in his head, and he's talking to him, and he's acting like he's getting scanned, but he's not getting scanned. So I weren't too sure what were going on.
I also was wondering about that as well. I was wondering if he was being scanned by Revok. Somehow,
yeah, that's what I thought.
There's nothing like cutting to him to suggest it.
I thought he might have been getting like long distance scanned, and then they would have revealed it after he died, but then they revealed nothing. And it's just like, oh, he just had a bit of a moment. That was about it.
There was something like rewatching it, I noticed, because I remember I was confused every single time I watched it. What is going on here? And like we know later in the film that Revok tells Vale that their father, Dr. Ruth, made the scanners by giving it to children. So how the Doctor could be a scanner is a bit confusing unless he used it on himself. I don't know
exactly.
What was I going to say? I've lost my thought.
That's pretty much the whole film. Then we've pretty much done the whole film there.
Yeah. Basically, in number 2, they develop a way that ephemeral can turn normal people into scanners. So maybe it could be explained by he has an early version of that drug. It's called F2.
We know we're going to be getting a Scanners TV show soon that will flesh out all these ideas.
What is that about? Is that a remake, or is it what is that? What's the details of that?
Craig, you said it was Cronenberg doing it, right? So I assume it's a sequel.
I actually can't remember. I think HBO are doing it. So I imagine, I think it's going to be quite decently budgeted and nicely written.
I agree. And also, let me tell you something, right? Scanners 2 and 3 have no returning characters. They're both set like 30 years in the future from Scanners. So, you know, at the end, when you've got Daryl Revok, who's killed Cameron Vale, and now he's pretending to be Cameron, he's got the blanket around him, and he's doing the Cameron voice to...
What? He's pretending?
Well, I thought they left it open.
I can't remember at the end. You can see it's Daryl, and he's using Cameron Vale's voice.
I was pretty... So the way I read the ending is that... So you've got Revok doing all the scannery shit to Vale, and then in the middle of it, Vale suddenly goes like Christ-like, like fire. Yeah, he goes Super Saiyan, and then his eyes pop out. And then, so I sort of read it that at the end, Vale managed to basically swap consciousnesses. So Revok died in his body, and he is now in Revok's body. That's what I thought it was meant to be.
Oh, okay. Well, I reckon
I like
it's
that.
obviously supposed to be seen both ways as like an Inception type ending, because you know he's in Revok's skin and he's covering his body as if to cover himself so that the girl doesn't find out he's Revok. He's trying to lure her towards him.
Right, but then he removes, is it a coat he's got over him or a blanket? But he removes it, and then when he looks at her, he's got the same color eyes that Cameron had for the rest of the film. So his eyes have changed. That's why I thought Cameron had swapped consciousness with him. By the way, I love the practical effects, like the bulging veins in that scene.
Yeah.
Love the practical effects. Take that over CGI any fucking day.
Yeah.
The effects get a lot worse in 2 and 3. And
I can imagine.
They basically reduced the scanning ability to in number 3, the woman who's the main character, the way she's like fighting people with her scanning is she basically just like flicks her head towards people and then they go flying. It's such fucking bollocks.
To be fair, there is a little bit of that when the artist gets shot with the shotguns and Cameron's in that giant head, and we get shots of Cameron just jolting his head back and forth, and then we get shots of people flying across the room. But I wasn't too sold on the abilities of scanners because I'm going to scan you. Like, okay, so you're a telepath, but then we see telekinesis. We see people spontaneously combust. We see eyes popping out. We see people's heads explode. Like, what really is the power set of a scanner? I'm not too sure.
They get expanded on in the second one as well because the main character, he force fingers his girlfriend using scanning at some point, and
scanner sex.
Yeah, he turns her on with the scanning and then bangs her. Well, he can probably scan his dick to feel bigger.
Cronenberg really isn't an actor's director, is he? He really isn't. The whole movie is terrible with the performance.
Well, the way I see it is that it's very early on in his career. I think he only made a few films before this one, so I kind of give that a pass. Because I know earlier, Tobias, you were saying you were on the fence about this one, but I can although the acting really grates on me and it's kind of quite funny at times. For me, it's I'll give it a pass because it's a good. I still like the idea too much.
I can give it a pass. It's just I didn't, because I'd seen this film years ago and I remembered it really good, and then upon rewatching, it's nowhere near as good as I remember it. So I think that's affected my enjoyment of it this time around. Is that I remember it being a better film, but it's as Blake said, it's very unique, especially for the time. And that definitely, just on its own, the concept gets a pass. It's a really good idea.
Yeah,
I think this Videodrome and The Fly are probably the essential Cronenberg trilogy.
Videodrome's incredible.
Well, when was the last time you watched Videodrome? I bet you if you watched that again recently, you'd probably come to the same conclusions that you did when you watched this. Bit wooden.
Possibly, I've got a feeling the last time I watched Videodrome might have been years ago in your bedroom. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've watched it since.
Well, I passed the videotape into the hole in your stomach, and you watched it through your mind.
And that's how you lost your virginity,
I went
right?
James Woods. That's how I lost my virginity. I love The Fly. I think that's the one Cronenberg film I've watched the most. It's very good.
Can I suggest that our next, if we do Cronenberg again, can we really please do Videodrome? I really want to see that again because I think I've only seen bits and pieces of it. Because I know I've seen also bits and pieces of The Fly, but I think I know the plot to it enough. I don't know enough about Videodrome.
Yeah, well, we've all seen the Simpsons episode of The Fly. So,
but to be fair, the original Fly is also worth a watch. It's an old school film, but it's all right. It's good.
So, by the way, also speaking again about if Scanners is a TV series, what would you guys like to see in it?
Oh yeah, so that's what I was going to try and say earlier.
Concept.
I got drifted off. I want it to be about Daryl Revok, man. He's just he fucked up Cameron, and now he's like the fucking Darth Vader of the Scanner world, ignoring Scanners 2 and 3. But
you see,
Daryl Revok is now an old man, and he's like been a scanner for a while.
I think I would prefer to see like the origins of Revok, like seeing him getting experimented on, drilling the hole in his head.
Yeah, I was trying to cast Michael Ironside as old man Revok.
We have de-aging technology nowadays. We have de-aging. We can do that. What was your favorite moment in this movie?
Ooh, it's hard to say.
I think you're not allowed to say the head exploding scene.
Yeah.
No.
Let me have a look through my notes. I think my favourite scene was the final scene when he's fighting Daryl Revok and he's got fine. We'll do this the Scanner way. And then they have the fucking battle.
They do when you say battle though, a lot of this film wasn't for the really tight audio. Really good audio in this movie. I love the audio. Yeah. Really puts it on edge. But if it weren't for the audio, most of this movie would just be people staring at each other really awkwardly.
Especially with no context. The lead actor with his very pale eyes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Can we briefly mention Kim Obrist?
Go on.
I just find her really attractive.
Did you guys notice, by the way, that her and the guy who plays Cameron both had a little bit of white hair? Like, I was wondering if there was. I think actually Cameron doesn't start with it in the beginning of the film. It wasn't there, but later on, he has a little whiff of whiteness on the top.
Can't say I noticed. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't notice it.
I was wondering if there was something behind that or not. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Well, it's because he's Rogue from X-Men.
Yeah, basically they're Rogue.
What's your favourite scene?
Oh, I don't know. I'm really struggling, but the first thing that comes to my mind for stupidity reasons was, do you remember the scene where they're in that bus and they're driving down the street and they're being shot at with shotguns?
The drive-by shotgun scene, yeah.
Yeah, well, not actually that bit, which is actually better than what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say is a bit stupid. They smash into I guess a record store or something, and I just found it really funny.
It's the most obviously fake shop that's ever been crafted in a film ever. I wrote that down. It's like they literally just chucked a couple of planks of wood together.
Yeah. But what I found funny was that the police had like absolutely no control. Like as soon as a bus smashes through the front window, everyone's just like going inside. Wow, everyone's what's going on? Like, what the fuck? And I just thought it's like that's very not American. I'm sure in America, like the police would be there, guns blazing. But in Canada, let's just like walk fucking in here. Like everyone's just walking around looking at shit. Like the police have no power. Like the police say, please leave. And they're just like ignoring them and looking around. Like I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, that was funny. I like that. And then just a guy with a trench coat and a shotgun underneath his trench coat is allowed to walk through the crime scene. Just some random dude. Yeah, So, a lot of ridiculous moments in this. I'll tell you the ridiculous moment I noticed. Do you know when they go to the bad guy at Consec starts interrogating her? He says to her, "What's your name?" And she went, "My name's Kim." And then she goes, "What's your name?" And he goes, "That's irrelevant. But in that moment, in that scene, he's wearing a name tag. I couldn't believe it. That, like, number one,
What
why
was his
did
name? What
I
was
don't
his
know.
name then?
I don't remember his name.
Uni-level filmmaking.
Even still, she's psychic. She doesn't even need to ask.
Oh my, exactly.
Oh, I got another stupid thing for you guys that doesn't make sense completely. At the end, when Revok reveals that Dr. Ruth is their father, Cameron goes, so that's why we're older than everyone. And like, he's 30. Like, I swear to God, like the guys from earlier, some of them are definitely older than him. He's like supposed to be 35.
I mean, I don't want to be mean to Michael Ironside, but I'd say even in this film, I'd say it's a stretch to say that he's playing as young as 35. Very well be in his mid-30s making this movie, but I think he looks a lot older. I'd say there's a huge age gap between them. I'd say Vale looks a lot younger than Revok.
Definitely.
Is Michael Ironside one of those Samuel L. Jackson type characters where he just looks old for his entire life?
I think
Because
so.
The next thing
Pretty
I
much.
remember seeing him in was
Total
Starship
Recall.
Troopers. Oh yeah,
Starship
Recall
Troopers.
as well. Starship Troopers. He's an old man in that.
Yeah,
And that was
I've forgotten he was in that.
1990.
Yeah. Well, Total Recall was 1990 as well. When was Scanners? Does anyone have the date up on
I
Scanners?
think it was
81.
I think it was 81. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so 9 years between that and Total Recall. When was Starship Troopers? 99.
I think that was early. Well, I thought it was 1990, wasn't it?
I thought it was. I thought it was
I think
late
it might be a
90s.
bit closer to the 2000s, but yeah, it's definitely in the 90s somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to be a 90s film. It's got, because I think the CGI in Starship Troopers is way too good to be that close to the 80s.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, no, but like it's probably on the same level as Jurassic Park, isn't it?
But also,
Yeah.
that not only just that, but I find that, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but in some
97.
more modern, more recent films, the colors that they use, like they really try to make everything too bright sometimes. And I think when
Bright
you
and
do
saturated.
that, yeah, and it just makes the CGI look even more obvious.
This is the fault of these superhero films, I think. They're very, very colourful, and other movies feel that they need to emulate that look because that's an expensive, quote unquote, expensive look for a film.
Yeah.
What do you think about? So I think it's a bit of a, going back to Scanners, I think this is a bit of like the ephemeral. If it suppresses scanner abilities, why does it create scanners in the first place, and vice versa?
I literally wrote that exact thing down. It's like they didn't really come to a full conclusion about what this shit actually does. It seems to do whatever they want it to do at any particular time. But I think
it's
what
the
it
McGovern
is,
juice.
it creates scanners when it's injected into people who, like pregnant women, and then they give birth to scanners. But I think obviously I think the way they were then saying it is if you give it to a scanner, it dampens their abilities.
Well, it's I kind of think of it like heroin or something, to be honest. They then need it, to calm themselves down.
That's what it is in the second one or the third one. They will become like ephemeral addicts.
That's interesting.
Okay, so that's interesting, but I will say that my reading of the ephemeral, when they started to introduce this notion of pregnant women are being given the ephemeral, and then it creates a side effect, and maybe not a desirable side effect, it just got me thinking of what was that drug called? Thalidomide?
I know what you're. Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
They used to give it to pregnant women as a painkiller for pregnancy, and then all the babies that were born had they showed birth defects and side effects, and it just got me thinking the use of ephemeral in this movie, which I thought was interesting. Perhaps in a Scanners TV show we could explore that more.
But you know what else the drug reminds me of, and this maybe you might kick me, Tobias, for saying this, for you not saying this. The Boys.
No, you can say that, and I won't get jealous. Don't worry.
I got massive vibes from The Boys in this film, not just because of the medicine but also the head popping scene. Like, and there's the whole character who blows up people's heads in The Boys. I thought it's a huge influence on The Boys, this film.
I think we have specified really with this whole chat that Scanners is definitely way more influential than on the surface level. Like, you might not necessarily see it straight away, but it has influenced so much. It's kind of nuts how many movies we can see shades of in this.
And the funny thing is the head exploding scene seems to be like probably one of the least influential things about the whole film, even though it's the most iconic.
I think it was really, I was saying earlier, like a big marketing tactic. Like, because if you watch the trailer, I think for the trailer of the film, it's just literally that scene. And I was just thinking, well, what a better way to get people's attention back then. Like, I could imagine if people didn't remember the name of the film, they would say, have you seen that head exploding film or whatever? Like, that would be the way of people to really, you know, remember it.
The head pop film. Did you get this, like, so when he connects to the computer and then one of the bad guys is like, oh, we'll blow the mainframe or whatever, blow the computer, because while he's connected, it will fuck him up. He said something to that effect.
Yeah.
But we never actually see anyone, like Michael Ironside is connected to that other scanner at the beginning whose head pops. Well, Michael Ironside's head don't pop. So, like, if you're connected to someone and they die, really mean that you're going to be any worse off. And yet they were like, let's just blow the computer because it will work. Didn't really feel that made much sense.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just another convenient explanation to create a point in a film, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, there's a lot of convenient shit in this film.
I thought the whole computer aspect was bullshit. They should not have gone down that route.
No, I'll tell you what I would have done. You would have. I think Ponsec, like, you go into like the sub basement or something, and it turns out that like the original scanner, the first scanner, is like being hooked up to the main, and that's why they're so.
Oh yeah, like, that'd be cool.
That'd be fucking awesome. Give me, a scanner getting its brain juice sucked out to make a human computer. I'd love that.
We have to tell the guys who are making the show, they can have that for free. Another note I was going to add for the TV show, and I think, by the way, the lead characters are going to be 2 women. We'll see how it goes. I hope they do. I really hope they do it well. But one of the things I was thinking about is, so have you guys seen Fargo, the TV series? So Fargo,
I've never even seen the movie.
Yeah. Well, the Fargo TV series is basically, it's not just like a continuation of the film in a funny way, but it's also like kind of like a pastiche for all of the stuff that the Coen brothers have done. So you can see all of their influences from all the different genres they play around with. And I was thinking, like, if they, when they make the Scanners TV show, it doesn't just have to be a pastiche for this film, one film. You can do pretty much a whole of like, and I was thinking, could you imagine also if they brought in some Videodrome and some other more body horror elements into it? And I think it'd be fantastic if they did that.
Did they not do that with a Stephen King movie where they reference every Stephen King story?
Well, that's cool. Dark Tower, but that's because the whole story of the Dark Tower is basically like the original multiverse anyway.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, yeah, I think Craig's right. I think that would be an interesting idea to just let the Scanners show be a pastiche of Cronenberg in general. I think that would be nice.
It'll be the most fucked up thing to watch on TV.
I mean,
they probably won't do that because they've done a series for Dead Ringers on Amazon, which is another Cronenberg film. So they're probably just doing a series for each film.
Dead Ringers was Cronenberg. Is that not the one with what's his name? Scar from The Lion King.
Oh my god! You're talking about
the new Alfred,
Quantum.
Jeffrey Irons.
Quantum Break, isn't it?
I love how you.
What's his name? Quantum Leap. Sorry, is it the guy from Quantum Leap? Isn't it?
I thought it was Jeremy Irons. I thought it's Alfred from Batman v Superman.
Jeremy Irons.
I didn't know that was Cronenberg.
Yeah, I think that's his first film.
Tobias remembered Jeremy Irons from him playing Scar. Like...
I think the last point that I've written in my notes is the ending is super abrupt of Scanners. It's a really abrupt ending. I would have
no fucking closing of the story. Like, there's just a closing of like the battle, and then that's it. You don't get any hint of what's to come.
This is it. It would have been nice to get like a flavour of what might happen next. That would have been nice, I think. And it probably would have benefited the sequels as well. Make it feel a bit more connected.
It looks like they probably didn't even have an idea for the sequels because they just seem so random and disconnected. Like, there's not a single connected character. In number 2, he's the main character is Cameron Vale's son. And I was like, in fact, that actually makes more sense with your interpretation of the ending now, because obviously you were saying Cameron Vale was still alive and he just looked like Daryl Revock. So yeah, this ending said that they basically had 2 kids while
fighting each other.
Well, I interpreted it as it's meant to be during the film, because in my interpretation, Cameron was dead at the end of the film. So I didn't know whether they were just retconning the ending of it, or if they were just, or if your interpretation of the ending is what the true ending is.
I mean, does it have to be maybe they're test tube babies though?
That would make more sense because they don't look like each other at all.
No, I mean about sequels. For the sequels.
Oh, the sequels.
If they introduce Revick's kid and Cameron's kid, then it's like, well, maybe they're just more clones than offspring. Maybe.
Well, they sort of said that they had the kids during all the rebellions and that, and then they gave them to someone to look after. They must be taking place after the battle with Revick, because I can't see any other time when fucking Cameron was clapping cheeks.
I mean, fair. Can we give it a rating? Let's give it a rating. Can we start with you, Blake, since you're our guest? How many Cronenbergs would you give it out of 14 Cronenbergs?
Probably give it 11 Cronenbergs out of 14.
Craig, how many bulging pustules will you give it out of 7?
7. Probably. Ooh, that's an interesting. Are we judging it by special effects here then?
Judge it how you like. Give it as many bulging pustules as you think it deserves.
I think it's at least a 6. I really like this film.
I'd give it maybe. I'm gonna go to Cronenberg's and bulging pustules. I'll give it a 9 Cronenbergs out of 14.
All right, but how about this, Tobias? In terms of influence, how would you rate it?
Well, Austin Powers alone makes it a 10 out of 10.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. It gets 10 out of 10 for plagiarism.
For being plagiarized. Yeah.
For being plagiarized. Yeah. Of course.
It's interesting this time because usually I find that when we rate a film at the end of our pods, I think sometimes I'm a bit harsher than you, and sometimes you're a bit more lenient. But this time it's the other way around. This time you're a bit harsher, and I'm a bit more lenient on it.
Well, it's because this one didn't have Nicholas
as Cameron Vale
it could have. He would have had to be Cameron Vale. Can you imagine Cage versus
Nick Cage?
Cage
versus Ironside.
Yeah.
You would have believed that he was homeless more if he was a crazy homeless guy.
I mean, if you had Nick Cage in this movie, I think I'd want, like, maybe I'm going too much of Con Air and Nick Cage already playing a guy called Cameron. But I think I want John Malkovich for the Revick character. If Nick Cage is going to be in. Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to reduce my rating across the board by 1 because the acting really is dreadful. Like, if you can't handle bad acting, you shouldn't watch this movie. It will be hard to get through. Yeah. The acting is dreadful. You need to
take a step back, don't you? And you need to let it exist in its own world of bad acting.
But to be fair, movies of that era had a lot of bad acting, in all fairness. And I don't know if you guys have seen
any other similar B movies of Bane.
Yeah, like the Reanimator and shit.
Yeah, I 100% like my rating comes with like a little asterisk, like mind the bad acting, because like usually bad acting really grates on me, but this time I'm giving it a pass because I like it enough to let it
Can
go.
you ever consider bad acting to be a style? Because now that I think about it more and more, all of these B movies around about this time, it's like the bad acting adds to the feeling of it. And
I agree.
In a way, if it had good acting, they wouldn't even be the same sort of films.
All right,
guys.
I think that's about it. Thank you for coming out, Blake. It's always a pleasure to have you on the pod. Maybe we'll get you in on the next game that we play.
Definitely, that'll make it very interesting.
Yeah, we'll do a triple threat.
How do you do it three-way?
I mean, we could alternate we could have a host and two players, and we could alternate who's being the host.
Or is it like a race to see who gets it first?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the two people play can work together to decide what lifelines to use, but it's whoever can answer first will get the points. So you can cooperate, but then there's an fucking each other over. That might be interesting.
Yeah, backstabbing. Yeah, that'd be good.
We're still developing this game.
Time me and Craig talk, we think about a new rule that we can add. So, yeah, let's discuss that maybe. But we'll definitely get you back on again, Blake.
Yeah. All right.
Anything you want to say to the viewers at home, Blake? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, just listen to my music, probably.
Listen to my music.
Yeah, WAKENBLAKE DNB on Instagram, and then just follow the links on there.
Nice. Craig, anything you want to say to the lovely people out there?
I need to piss quite badly. I drank about half a liter of water and a coffee. I may also need a shit.
Okay, nice. All right. Keep it to yourself, though, mate. Keep it to yourself. All right. I thought you were going to say keep it knees then, but never. Fuck me, right? Okay.
Oh yeah, shit. Yeah, keep it knees.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for coming out and listening to us. Do follow us on Twitter at Film Shrapnel, capital F, capital S. We have a TikTok now at Film Shrapnel. A lot of cool stuff going up there. And you can now find us not only on Spotify, but Apple, Amazon, all the good podcasting platforms all over the world. Please give us a listen, and we'll see you there. Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Shrapnel.